Gott ist in mir das Licht. Das Licht, aus dem alle Farben
God in me
sich durch
is light, the light from which, by refraction, all colors are derived. It is energy, it is consciousness. It is the pulse of the universe,
der Puls des Universums,
the
die
electricity
Elektrizität
of
aller
all
Universen.
universes.
Und in dem Sinne
And in that sense, of course,
möchte ich
I
natürlich
dedicate
Licht
light to the absolute
dem
light.
absoluten Lichte widmen. Also mein
So my little
kleines
work,
Werk
Light, is a constant reminder
erinnert
of the
immer
light
wieder an
that
dieses
lights up the
Licht,
whole
das
universe,
das
that
ganze
fills it
Universum
full of light.
hell macht, erfüllt. Und es erinnert auch alles,
And it's a
was
reminder
Schatten
as well
ist.
of all that is in shadow. So to
durch
that
den
extent,
Titel
I attempt also, through the title, Light, to derive everything, the various refractions, the 7 days, the 7 parts, and all the scenes that constitute the 7 days that make up the work Light. I see them all as aspects of white light, which through colors, through prisms, which I use myself as a composer, through modulations, filters, shadings and so on, I attempt to show that everything is derived from light, which is the source of all things.
Alles ableitet aus dem Licht, aus dem alles hervorgeht.
Stockhausen's symbolic drama, Light, in 7 parts corresponding to the 7 days of the week, has as its theme the evolution of man. In 7 stations, and in a variety of scenes ranging from momentary situations to sequences of dramatic action, he describes the magical game of evolution, which revolves around the eternal conflict between the archangel Michael, Lucifer, and the first woman, Eve. After Thursday in 1980 and Saturday in 1984, both of them premiered in La Scala in Milan, Monday is the 3rd opera in Stockhausen's visionary cycle, in which white light is a metaphor for God or the spirit of the universe. Monday had its first performance in May 1988, also in La Scala in Milan. Michael Bogdanov was the producer, and the overall musical direction was in the hands of the composer himself, Karl-Heinz Stockhausen. Monday of Light, to give the work its full title, is an opera in 3 acts for 21 musical performers, 14 solo voices, 6 solo instruments, 1 actor, chorus, children's chorus, and modern orchestra. In this new work, Stockhausen abandons the principle of solo voices being accompanied by the orchestra. 6 synthesizers provide the musical basis for the opera. On the stage, each figure, each character can be singer, player, and actor, all at the same time.
Because it needs another man. The man makes more theater than the whole cast. The man will come and read and walk.
I've been rehearsing the sections of Monday of Light for 4 years, working on each individual section one after the other for months on end. 35 days of rehearsal for one single scene, Eve's song, in a hall with 7 child solos, 3 synthesizers, 4 basset horns and so on. Every scene is prepared in the same way, so that if you add it all up, it comes to thousands of hours altogether just for rehearsals. 3 or 4 months of rehearsals, and on top of that, all the individual rehearsing that every single musician has to do to learn each section by heart. You put all this together as a musician and you present it on a stage, like in Milan. And what comes out of it all in the end, even with a team of technicians and a whole ensemble of machines and equipment, is so unbelievably primitive compared with what I really want and the idea I have in my mind of how it ought to be. And it costs a fortune to put an opera like Monday of Light on the stage.
Und es kostete ein Vermögen, solch eine Oper wie Montag aus Licht zu realisieren. Je viens.
Born in 1928 in Mödrat near Cologne, Karl-Heinz Stockhausen is the pioneer, inventor and producer of a new music that has kept concertgoers talking and arguing for over 35 years now, with its blend of intellectual abstruseness and powerfully intuitive and emotional expressiveness. In the meantime, the Stockhausen experience is accessible to the public in the form of over 185 published compositions, more than 100 tapes and recordings made under his own direction, and 7 volumes containing 2,500 pages of documentation and theoretical writings. An enthusiastic student of post-Einstein modern sciences, Stockhausen achieved international fame at the age of only 25 with his discovery of new patterns of vibration. A leading figure in the field of absolute music and a trailblazer through his electronic music for synthesizers and computer music, he's constantly attempting to push back the existing limits of his music from within. His programmatic composition of the visual goes back quite a way before his work on the opera cycle, Light.
Yes. Yes, for you? Yes. Well, depends how long it takes me to do it. But I hope I'll be finished by 5:30. We had all this row about the kids coming in, especially to do the one thing that I said they got to do because it was so dangerous. And
Monday of Light is a real festival of an opera. The first act begins with preparations for a festival, with women cleaning and perfuming and adorning an immense figure of Eve. She gives birth to 2 lots of 7 creatures, 7 that are half boy and half animal, and 7 brownie elves. A Lucifer figure appears and hurls insults at the human race, particularly the women. He mocks at the animal children and the brownie elves. In a dance of the perambulators, the children are pushed around in a frantic race. They go faster and faster until they all fall in a heap and everything ends in chaos. The first act ends with Lucifer demanding the whole thing over again from the beginning. The 7th of May, 1988, the first night of Monday of Light at La Scala in Milan.
Wir sind fertig.
The 7 stations of the universal drama Light show Michael, Eve and Lucifer in situations of transformation, conflict and incarnation within the great game of evolution. Tuesday is the day of the conflict between Michael and Lucifer. Wednesday will be the day of the search for a new world in which all creatures understand one another. On Thursday, the Archangel Michael takes on human form and lives upon earth. Friday is the day when Lucifer tries to persuade Eve to come over onto the side of the rebels. Saturday is the day of Lucifer, the day of death and the overcoming of this temptation. The mystical union of Michael and Eve on Sunday makes it possible on Monday, the day of Eve, for humanity to be reborn. At the beginning of the second act, Eve is spiritually impregnated with music from the piano. A second birth takes place. Seven new children are born, the 7 children of the week. Monday's child through to Sunday's child. And a new Eve figure also appears, Corps de Basset. She multiplies herself miraculously into 3 more basset horns, and they begin to do a synchronized dance and bewitch the children.
Venite a riprendere anche noi? Ah sì?
Il mio manco niente.
Oddio.
Togli a tutti perché...
E allora? E allora? E allora?
In the third act, men appear. Eve, in the guise of Cour de Bassée, captivates them with her charms. Women approach and announce the imminent arrival of a child catcher, a musician with magic powers who exercises an irresistible fascination, especially over children. In a grand finale, this figure casts a powerful spell on the children and carries them off to heaven.
A 40-channel mixing console as a control desk for Herr Stockhausen, 40 input channels, 16 output, and another 8 auxiliary output channels, and so on. What else have we got? Complete amplifiers, 22 wireless microphones. Then there are 2 8-track machines running over Telcom, a complete talkback system.
Komplette Kommandoeinrichtung und so weiter und so fort. Kopfhörerverdrahtung.
There's headphone wiring for click tracks, complete wiring on the stage for choir microphones and piano microphones. There's wiring and adhesive tape everywhere. Transmitters behind and taped to their backs. The sopranos have a click track played into them. Peter Edwisch gets a click track directly into his ear. There are video monitors so that he can conduct. So there's a massive amount of technology. We built a little cubicle here to hold all the stuff that isn't actually being used out there. In fact, all that's out there really is the huge mixing console, where all the channels come together. We've got 2 submixers in here as well, where we pre-mix for the choir microphones. But the wireless microphones and the tape machines and all the threads come together on his control desk. Stockhausen starts the machine and we stop it and set it back to start and so on. That goes on to the middle of the third act, and then the tape can just run through. That's why I can talk to you now.
Stockhausen expects his light project to keep him busy for the rest of his life. He reckons to spend 4 years on one opera, which means that the whole work could be completed by the year 2002.
Future generations will think up quite different projects of the imagination, because like everything else, their fantasy will be constantly renewed and expanded and enlarged as technology evolves. Let's just imagine, for example, that at the end of the century, someone discovers a completely new form of vibration. It's something a lot of engineers seem to think is quite likely, which would make it possible to send man from here to Sirius. It's not unthinkable. And then it would make a wonderful act in my opera for the audience to go off for 10 minutes. They could be modulated on a vibration, which would transport them to Sirius for 10 minutes and then bring them back again. It's not out of the question. It would simply be a question in molecular terms of gaining access to new forms of vibration, and we don't know how to do that yet. Then one could modulate a certain vibration with a human being, and he would just be sent off. No being put into a deep sleep for 3 years in a spaceship and then being woken up again. Or like some people in California have done, spending thousands of dollars to have their blood pumped out so that they can be woken up again in 150 years' time. I mean, there'd be nothing to it. No, really, I can see the time coming when this disembodying and re-embodying will be a regular technique. And that, of course, will lead to a completely new music theatre, and one that will be much more fascinating than what we're doing now.
Das ist ja viel faszinierender als das, was wir machen.